No Lane, Chapter 3. It's the first day of school. I know I should be more excited. I like school. I have lots of people to talk to, and the teachers are nice, and I'm always the first kid to understand what the heck is going on when we learn a new lesson. I'm good at school. Well, except for spelling. When I put the letters down, they look okay to me, and to be fair, I almost always have all the right letters. I'm just usually wrong about the order they're supposed to go in. But I'm an ace at understanding what I've read as soon as they get the letters to stop crawling all over the dang page. So apart from the occasional spelling test, I get all A's without trying. I just listen in class, and I know all the answers without having to study, because things tend to stick in my head, even if I don't want them to. You'd be surprised what gets stuck in my head. TV jingles and the price of tuna fish, and just about everything else there is to know about Dwight D. Eisenhower. I had to do a report on him last year. Operation Overlord was the code name they used when they stormed the beaches of Normandy. I like the word overlord. I keep looking for a place to use it, but it hasn't come up yet. So the word just rattles around in my head, waiting for the chance to just get said. I guess my brain is like my mom. It doesn't ever throw anything away either. I like school, but this year I'm not excited for the first day because of my destroyed sneakers. Mom said they'd make it a few more weeks until it turns cold. I didn't get any new clothes either. I didn't fit any of Nora's hand-me-downs. They're too loose around the waist or not long enough in the leg, and most of her shirts were already hand-me-downs from like 3 other people, so they're worn so thin you could throw a cat through them. And Mom said it wasn't decent for me to wear them until I get my first bra, which will be never, considering what I'm working with. Ribs and skin. My chest looks like a xylophone with 2 pinkish moles on it. The only clothes that fit me are JP's Sunday button-downs and his old jeans, and I don't want to wear boy clothes, seeing as how much I look like a boy as it is. It's not just that they're boy clothes, it's just that they're boy clothes from 10 years ago. I don't think any of the other girls at my school are going to be wearing button down shirts, beat up old sneakers, and bell bottoms. I look in the mirror and take my hair out of my usual low ponytail so I look a little more like a girl. It doesn't really help. I don't look like other girls, and I never have, to be honest. I don't know what to do. I try to wash my sneakers. I take them to the sink and wet an old rag, but the dust just turns to mud. I'll have to rinse them off. Maybe I should use some soap. What are you doing? Nora asks. She comes in and turns off the tap. I'm trying to clean off some of the dirt, I say. I'm starting to panic now because I realize my sneakers are still filthy and now they're soaked too. Annie, we have to go. The bus is coming, she tells me. I sit down on the floor and pull on my wet sneakers. My face feels hot. You think anyone will notice? I ask. When I stand up, I make a squelching sound. Nora sighs. Come on, she says, but she isn't angry or anything. We'll sit at the front of the bus so you don't have to walk by anyone. My shoes go all the way to out the door. At least I don't have to stand at the bus stop with anyone but Nora, because everyone else on our block is in high school, and Nora and I are the only ones still in middle. I'm in 5th grade this year and she's in 7th, and Faye is in 8th and Bridget is in 9th. 8th and 9th grades are in the high school in my town for some dumb reason. I look into the woods across the street as I jump up and down trying to stamp the water out while we wait for the bus. It doesn't work. All it does is make the hole in the toe even bigger. Nora crosses her arms and shakes her head. You're just making it worse, she says, her voice kind of sad, kind of tired. She looks away like we're not together as the bus pulls up. I sit down next to her in the first seat without looking up because I don't want anyone to notice me. The hole in my sneaker and my boys' clothes bother me, and I don't know why. My clothes and shoes didn't used to be a big deal to me, unless they were uncomfortable. I've never had anything new, but just this once I wish I had new sneakers for the first day of school. Hi, Annie. Did you have a good summer? I look up and see Kristen Gates standing over me. Yeah, I say, even though I spent half the summer working on the farm fainting or barfing. How was your summer? I ask. Kristen sits down in the seat across the aisle from Nora and me. She's in my grade and she lives just down the hill from us. I like Kristen. She's smart and she has super straight blonde hair and one dark freckle on her left cheek that looks like an itty bitty star. I glance down at her shoes while she sits. She's wearing bright white sneakers and her socks are pale pink and scrunchy. Everything she's wearing reminds me of cotton candy. Kristen is an only child. Her house is so quiet and her clothes are always new. I look back up at her, but she isn't looking at my shoes, but like I'm looking at hers. She's looking right at me and she's smiling. Kristen is always smiling. It was amazing, she says. Yeah, I say, feeling her smile make me smile. I went to camp. It was so fun. We went hiking and berry picking. Kristen breaks off and reaches into her brand new backpack, not catching my frown. Why does everyone talk about berry picking like it's awesome? And we learned how to make friendship bracelets, she said. Hold out your hand. I hold out my hand and she puts something in it. I open my palm and see she's given me a purple and green woven thing. I look up at her confused. That's a friendship bracelet, she says. She laughs and shows me her wrist. It has 5 of these brightly colored woven bracelets around it, and it looks so cool. I love it, I say, not sure what to do. How do I put it on? Kristen shows me how to tie it so to make the ends lie flat. You made this for me? I ask. Yeah, she says, rolling her eyes a little. And now you can't make a friendship bracelet that's purple and green for anyone but me because those are our colors. Okay, I say, nodding frantically. Purple and green, you and me. You're so funny, Annie, she tells me. I missed you. I missed you too, I say. I realize after I say it that I mean it. It's so fun to smile and let your voice rise up high, like you're singing half your words. We don't talk like that in my house. So tell me about camp. While my sister stares out the window, ignoring us, what I learn is that camp is a magical place. It's full of songs and swimming and big shady trees. Camp is where you make friendship bracelets and spend the day floating along in a canoe and eating something called s'mores. It has marshmallows in it. Kristen can't believe I've never eaten a marshmallow, but it's true. We can't afford to eat store-bought sweets in my family, but I skip over that and beg Kristen to keep talking. I want camp. I want to live there someday. You should come with me next year, she tells me as the bus pulls up the drive to school. You'd really love it, Annie, and everyone would love you because you're so easy to talk to. Maybe you're just easy to listen to, I tell her instead of telling her the truth. I'll never go to camp. She smiles so wide I can see every one of her teeth. That's why I love you, Annie. I smile at her. Kristen says she loves people all the time, and I like that about her, because it makes me think she probably will love the whole world if she put her mind to it. It makes me happy to think that there's a person who's so nice they could love everybody. I try to be like that, but most days I can't. When we get off the bus, she loops her arm in mine, and we go like that to homeroom, our arms linked together like we're on our way to eat marshmallows in a canoe. I'm about 2 feet taller than her, and I have to stoop down so I don't elbow her in the lip, but I'm laughing and skipping along with her anyways, because it feels nice to have one of those girls, to be one of those girls who laughs and skips. We both have Mrs. Weiss for homeroom, because Kristen and I are in a special class together. It's called ACT, which is short for Academically Creative and Talented. Kristen is the smartest girl in our grade, so she totally belongs in ACT. I'm an ACT because I took this weird test when I was 7, and it was all puzzles and questions about groups I would make out of a bunch of odd shapes. The people who tested me kept giving me funny looks when I'd answer, but they were nice and they let me answer out loud rather than write it down. I like figuring things out in my head rather than writing them down, because whenever I write things down, the letters and numbers start to wiggle all over the page. I thought I did okay. But then afterward, all the adults stood around looking at me and frowning and talking about what needed to be done about me, like I was sick or something. And then they put me in ACT, which I thought was a mistake because Faye always says I'm stupid. Mary thinks I'm smart, though, and Mary's way smarter than Faye. I like ACT because all you have to do is think about what I want to think about and tell the class about it later. They're called oral dissertations, which means you do them out loud, but sometimes I get to use models, like the time I wanted to think about DNA because I was wondering why I was the only one in my family who got my dad's green eyes. I did about a jillion Punnett squares, but it didn't add up, so my dad and I built a double helix out of a bunch of painted wood blocks so I could see how easy it was for the nucleotides to get scrambled sometimes during the unzipping. And if even a few nucleotide pairs got scrambled, you get a different gene. Green eyes means your DNA is scrambled between brown and blue. I get that now because of the model. And it makes sense to me because I've always felt a little scrambled in how I see things. But mostly it was fun because everyone really liked the color I picked for Adenine, hot pink. Kristen painted her fingernails almost the same exact shade for a month afterward. I always think of nucleotides when I see hot pink now, which is good and bad. It's good because it makes me smile, but it's bad because I can't tell anyone else why I'm smiling without sounding like a freak. There are times when I think that no one in the world is ever going to understand what makes me smile, and I probably shouldn't try to explain it to anyone because there are some things that they just are never going to make sense to other people. There are 8 of us in ACT, and everyone is like way smarter than me. We still have all the regular classes the other kids do. We just do ACT as extra. Everyone else in ACT gets 100s on everything in the other classes, including spelling. But I'm glad I'm there even if it is extra, because I get to think my own things and I don't have to turn in a project until I've figured out whatever it is I'm thinking about, like my green eyes. Basically, the teachers leave me alone. We get to homeroom, and Mrs. Weiss already has something written on the blackboard. We are star stuff, which has taken its identity into its own hands. Carl Sagan. What is your destiny? It takes me a few seconds to untangle the letter salad on the blackboard, but eventually I manage to make all the vowels behave long enough to get it. And it's like I'm standing on top of a hill looking down at the whole world. A couple of years ago, my dad let us watch this special on PBS. Normally, we don't get to watch TV because the solid gold dancers are pornographic, but my dad made an exception for Carl Sagan because probably he doesn't do any dancing at all on his show, Cosmos. I wish I could have watched that show forever because every time he said billions and billions, I felt like I was as small as a nucleotide, but just as important. I felt like I was part of something that's bigger than I can see, bigger than any of us can see. And that's the best part. Every time Carl Sagan pointed out how little we are, no one was bigger than me. No one was more important. Infinity makes us all equal somehow. I like that. And now Carl Sagan wants me to find my destiny. This is important. This is something that's really going to make everything okay, even better than finding a license plate with 3 3s. I'm going to find my destiny, and then it will all make sense. Because even when you're scared, having a destiny means you're going to be okay. Because people with destinies don't get shit. 15 Hail Marys. The bed. I'm not supposed to swear even in my own head, but sometimes you need a word with a little more oomph in it than just a regular word. So a swear word is the only thing that will work. This is a swear word moment. This is the moment I'm going to find my destiny. Crap. 5 Hail Marys. What the heck is my destiny? Annie, would you take your seat, please? I looked down at Mrs. Weiss. She's about 2 inches shorter than me, which is weird because she's my teacher. But I'm getting used to adults being littler than me because all the Bianchis are taller than normal people. I take a seat next to Kristen and behind Jordan Dolan. If Kristen is the smartest person in the class, Jordan isn't far behind. He's quiet, but when he says something I like to listen, because he hardly ever says anything that doesn't mean twice as much as half the words. Jordan turns around and smiles at me. Hi, Annie, he says. Hi, Jordan, I say back. You're tanned. He nods and purses his lips like he's thinking of what to say next, but he decides against talking for a while. Jordan does this a lot. I'm used to it because my dad is the same way. When my dad is actually around, he hardly gets a word in edgewise, what with all of us jabbering at him day and night. I wonder how Jordan got to be like he is, seeing as how he doesn't have 8 daughters who are all chatty as a flock of seagulls. Jordan does have a lawyer mom, though. Maybe that's it. Anyways, I can tell we've got a lot to say, but I know from being around my dad that if I even take a breath to talk, he'll clam up and I'll never know how he got his tan. I sit still and wait, even though it's like torture. I built a boat, he says, after being quiet for a long while. I'm trying to picture that, but I can't. I need scale. Do people fit in it? I ask. He nods. Does it float with people in it? I ask, still trying to picture Jordan's boat. He nods again. I glance down at his hands, and I can see how they got square and rough as compared to last year. I know what his hands look like really well, because Jordan and I always get paired up for stuff, mostly because he picks me as a partner. Probably because I don't rush him when he's deciding which 5 or 6 words are worth saying. I think Jordan's hands are bigger than mine now, which is strange. He takes a breath like he's going to ask me something, but he never gets the chance. The bell rings, and Mrs. Weiss stands in front of the blackboard. I like teachers. I know that's a goody two shoes thing to say, but it's true. I always nod when the teacher asks a question you're supposed to answer yes to, and I always laugh when they've told a joke that isn't all that funny, because I get so uncomfortable when they're looking for something and no one is giving it back to them. My teachers try really hard, and most people don't try hard at anything. Hello, fifth graders, welcome, Mrs. Weiss says with way too much enthusiasm. I smile big for Mrs. Weiss, and not just because I'm embarrassed for her trying too hard. Some teachers are like that. They try too hard to be cool and peppy. I'm always nice to those teachers, though, because at least they try. I like Mrs. Weiss. You've all had a chance to read what I wrote on the blackboard, correct? She asks, already knowing the answer. Who here knows who Carl Sagan is? Everyone's hand goes up. Jordan even laughs a little like he's saying, Of course we know who Carl Sagan is. It's weird to think Jordan and Kristen might have been watching the same program I was watching, and maybe even at the same time. I look over at Kristen's t shirt. It has a cat on it, and the whiskers are sparkly with glitter. Her jeans are the palest shade of blue. I look at Jordan with his polo shirt, khakis, and docksiders. His socks are so white, and his hair is freshly cut. I can see a pale strip of skin on the back of his neck. I imagine Kristen and Jordan watching Carl Sagan at the exact same moment as me. I see them eating snacks because rich people have pajamas with big couches and snacks. I bet they weren't a little bit hungry while they watched. I bet they could hear every word because there was no yelling, nobody started hitting anybody else, and no one ended up going to bed scared. Just because you see the same TV show doesn't mean you saw it the same way. This year for ACT, I want you all to start thinking about your own individual talents, Mrs. Weiss says. I can tell she's being extra serious because her eyebrows are all squished together and it looks like she's going to cry. I want you to think about your unique talent and what it could mean to the world if you applied it to a profession. Jimmy Collins raises his skinny arms. All of Jimmy Collins is little and skinny except for his ears. You don't normally think of ears as fat, but there's no other way to put it. Jimmy Collins has fat ears. It's not just that they stick out, it's that they're big and fleshy like ears aren't supposed to be. His earlobes are thicker than thumbs. He gets teased a lot, but not by anyone in ACT. We don't tease each other in this class because in third grade we saw a puppet show about respecting each other's feelings. The main puppet was a dolphin. Basically, the dolphin said that being the kind of person who hurts other people's feelings was way worse than having fat ears. I agree because it makes me hot all over when I see other kids tease Jimmy Collins for his ears, and because I like dolphins. Mrs. Weiss calls on Jimmy a little reluctantly. She was on a roll and he stopped it. Yes, James, she says. Nobody calls him James but her. James has the same amount of letters as Jimmy, but it feels bigger, and I think Jimmy Collins is just too little to be James. You mean you want us to start thinking about what we want to be when we grow up? Jimmy asks with a bored sigh. Everything seems to bore Jimmy. He sighs when he thinks other people are being stupid. Jimmy sighs a lot around me. I want you to start thinking of your place in the world, she says. She's talking through her teeth because her jaw is clenched. Jimmy has a way of getting under your skin. He doesn't misbehave, not in the way Wilson Williams and Richie O'Brien do. They always make fart noises at general assemblies and get yelled at by the principal. I guess what Jimmy does is make everyone feel a little stupid, even teachers. Instead of thinking of a job, I want you to think about how your talents could best serve the world, she continues. Each of you, even if you have to invent a whole new career that they don't have a name for yet, I want you to do it. This year, I want you to find your destiny. I have to stop myself from jumping up and hollering like Mrs. Weiss just scored a touchdown. I'm gonna do this. I know I have destiny, and I'm gonna find it, whatever it is. Now, Mrs. Weiss says, turning to the blackboard. Let's brainstorm. Chapter 4. On Sundays, the Bianchis go to church. We all put on clean clothes, and then we rock, paper, scissors for who has to ride in the back of the van. I always lose. Even when I win, I lose, because Faye will hit me if she's stuck in the back of the van, and I don't want to give her my spot in the station wagon. Not that the station wagon is any prize, let me tell you that. We have 3 cars in my family, and all of them are crappy. 5 Hail Marys. My dad has a pickup truck my uncle bought for him that we use on the farm. The van is the van, and the station wagon is left over from when we bought the van. It's so old. It smells like spilled milk and melting plastic. But it did make it to the top of Mount Washington 3 summers ago when we took 4 days off after raspberry season for a summer vacation. We even splurged for a bumper sticker that says, "This car climbed Mount Washington," but I don't think it counts if your car has to be pushed. What it should say is, "The Bianchis pushed a station wagon up Mount Washington because our crazy mother thought it would be fun to go camping." She was wrong, by the way. Camping is not fun like the camp Kristen described with bunk beds and clean sheets and care packages. Real camping is not fun if you don't have hiking boots or a sleeping bag or a place to pee, and none of your damn 10 Hail Marys sisters will move over and share their sleeping bag with you. Evangeline actually yelled at me because my teeth were chattering so loud it was keeping her up. Worst night of my life, I think. I tried to wake up Mom and Dad and tell them how cold I was, but they yelled at me and told me to go back to sleep. All in all, we spent 2 days on the road and 1.5 days out in the middle of the woods getting eaten by ticks. We haven't had a vacation since. In the Rochambeau tournament for not sitting in the back of the van, I throw rock and get papered by Bridget, but I'm not too upset about it because at least I have new shoes. They aren't dress shoes. They're a kind of sneaker called Chuck Taylors, and I like them because they make me imagine my feet are in an old basketball movie. My mom didn't want me to wear them to church with my dress, but seeing as how they're the only shoes I have, the Chuck Taylors won. I got them yesterday with Gina. She used the babysitting money she got on Friday night to buy them for me because she said Mom would never get around to it because we don't have any money left for the month because Evangeline needed a new concert dress. It ticks Gina off when Mom spends all the money on Evangeline or Aurora, but it happens a lot because they have to look nicer than the rest of us because they have to go up on stage. And if they didn't have nice costumes and concert dresses, the family would be embarrassed. When we run out of money, Gina gives Mom what she makes babysitting so Mom can buy groceries, which is pretty much every week. Gina thinks Nora and I don't know she does it, but we do because we're snoops. We share a room with her, and we know that no matter how long she's been babysitting other kids in the neighborhood, she only ever has $5 for herself by the end of the weekend, tucked away under the broken ballerina in her music box. We know Gina doesn't spend all that money on herself going out because she doesn't have any friends. Gina babysits a lot. Half the time I think she babysits for the money. I mean, of course it's for the money, but also I think that she does it to get away from all of us. Yesterday, Gina said she couldn't stand looking at my shitty 15 Hail Marys, but for Gina, sneakers anymore. And she took me to the store and told me to pick out whatever I wanted under $20. There were other choices, but the Chuck Taylors were my favorite. They're white, and they go with everything, even dresses. Although no one else seems to agree with me. Bridget said they were ugly boy sneakers from 5 decades ago, but seeing as how most of my clothes are boy clothes from 1 decade ago, I think they make sense. I smile at my new shoes all the way to church, even though Faye tells me I look like a retard when I smile for no reason. St. Agatha's is right in the center of our town. It's not a big church or anything, but it does have some stained glass windows and a crucifix hanging above the altar that kind of freaks me out because Christ looks wicked skinny. All of his ribs are showing and his face is hollowed out like he's about 1,000. Half the town comes to church every Sunday, but my town is really small, so it's not as crowded as you'd think. Mass on Sunday is what my parents live for. My mom thumps away on the organ and my dad's an usher. The rest of us sit in pews and try not to make too much noise. That's harder than you'd think. Nothing Faye or Bridget does is ever funny outside of church. But once we all sit down in those pews and the incense gets burning and Mom is thundering away on that organ, everything becomes hilarious. Even just to look will start me giggling. And Bridget is the worst. She's got a rubber face. Somehow she can make herself look like other people. I don't know how she does it, but all she needs to do is point to someone sitting in the pews, and the next second she looks just like that person. You try not to laugh, and all of a sudden Bridget looks like an 80-year-old woman wearing a dumb hat. But my elder sisters don't care who started it. If they catch Nora and me laughing, they pinch us or twist our fingers. The worst part is that if the monkey bites and thumb crackers don't work, we laugh harder because once the giggle fit gets going, trying to stop it only makes it worse. And if even one peep comes out of us at the wrong time, our mom will hear it all the way up in the coral balcony. Mom's got superhero hearing. She can hear our cat Geronimo walking across the carpet. It's not that I want to be disrespectful, it's just that lately it all seems, well, kind of silly. The music and the smoke and the farty old priest blabbing on about the love of Christ, and then he goes ahead and says we're all sinners and sinners go to hell. And then I got to thinking that if I loved someone, I'd never send them to hell. And a couple of months ago, I realized I just don't see the point of coming to church in the first place. If I'm already going to hell because if you're Catholic, you believe everyone was born a sinner, what does it matter what I do? The more they try to explain the original sin to me, and believe me, they've sat down and tried to explain it a lot, the less I get it. Blaming a baby for something someone ate 1,000,000 years ago is just about the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I told them so. That's when I got kicked out of Sunday school. I had to say I don't know how many rosaries, and my dad looked really sad. They let me back in after my mom went and had a talk with him. But even still, my dad looks at me like he's worried I'm going to pop or something. I try to keep my mouth shut for his sake, but he's right. I can feel questions building up in me, and one of these days, a question they don't like is going to come flying out. I make it through church with only one bruise on my thigh from Gina. Monkey bite. Yeah, Gina pinches me too sometimes, but I'm not afraid of her the way I am of Faye. With Gina, you always know that she's going to do it for your own good. She was just trying to get me to stop laughing when Bridget pointed out a woman picking a wedgie as she got up to get communion. Gina actually saved me from getting in worse trouble with Mom, and Gina always looks like she hates doing it, which is good. When Faye pinches you, you can tell she likes it. That's the scary part. She likes it, and you know if other people weren't around, she wouldn't stop. Sometimes I think about what I might have to do someday if she doesn't stop hurting Nora or me. Well, at least I can leave church knowing one thing. Thinking the way I'm thinking means I'm definitely going to hell, so I don't have to worry about how many times I've taken the Lord's name in vain this week because that horse has already left the barn. Even when church is over, it's not really over, at least not for my family. There's always some kind of coffee and donut thing in the basement or out on the lawn. The basement is for when it's raining. I hate going down there. It always smells like cigarettes from the alcoholics who go down there to smoke on Saturday nights instead of getting drunk. Today is a nice day, so luckily we're out on the lawn. The Bianchis attack the donuts. We don't get sweets at home. We only get sweets from the priests. Got held up by my second grade teacher, Mrs. Brown, so we don't get to the donut table in time. I really like Mrs. Brown. She says that she knows I'm going to accomplish great things. She talks in capital letters when she says it too. I like that. I like that I know her well enough to know her punctuation. She was always big on punctuation. When I get to the demolished donut table, I see Faye standing close by with 3 donuts in her hands. One of them is a Boston cream. Faye always gets the most donuts because she shoves everyone else out of the way and takes them. My empty stomach rumbles. Everything goes hazy for a second and my ears start ringing. Oh boy, I'd better not faint. Faye, I ask, you gonna eat all those donuts by yourself? She licks her lips, still working on a cinnamon cruller. She takes another bite and chews. Her lips and tongue go everywhere. She's got a real long tongue, and she chews with her mouth open. Was one worth to ya? She says. Her lips let loose a big wet chunk of cruller. She doesn't even care that it lands on her dress. I think about it because I'm hungry. Mom and Dad don't let us eat before Mass because the body of Christ should only be received on an empty stomach. I woke up at 6 and it's 11 now. That Boston cream looks darn good, but if I say yes, it's like the favor that never runs out. The thing with Faye is, if you owe her for one little thing, she thinks you owe her forever. 2 weeks ago, I asked her to help me take out the garbage because it was too heavy for me to lift. And after that, she kept saying that I owe her for everything. She did it like 1,000 times. She said, Annie, give me the stamps Grandpa sent you because you owe me. And Annie, make my bed, you owe me. The bed making I didn't mind so much. I spit on her pillow while I did it, so it's not like a favor at all. But the stamps are different. I like collecting stamps almost as much as I like collecting stickers. I have a book for each, and I've just about filled both up. The stamps I do because my grandpa, my mom's dad, does them. When I get to see him, which isn't too often, we look through our collections together. He's got stamps from World War One, and I'm the only one of his grandkids who likes to collect stamps, so it's something we do together, which is nice. I prefer to collect stickers, really. They've got unicorns and teddy bears on them, and I think they're way prettier, but I don't mention that to Grandpa because he's a stamp man. And now I don't know what I'm going to tell him when he asks about the stamps Faye took. I guess I'll have to say I didn't get them. I hate lying to Grandpa because I only see him every now and again on account of the fact that he lives miles and miles away and because he's the only grandparent I've ever known. My older sisters all knew Grandma, Grandpa's wife, and they tell me I got lucky she died before I was born. Mary says Grandma was even worse than Mom. She never knew when she was going to go off, and sometimes she would even go off on Mom. But I don't like to think about that. Anyway, owing Faye favors didn't stop until yesterday when I told her no. I didn't want to give her the friendship bracelet that Kristen Gates gave to me. I just wouldn't do it. So she beat the stuffing out of me. Luckily, Nora got Aurora, and Aurora lost her mind when she saw that Faye was after me. Aurora looks delicate, but when she gets really angry, she's scary. She likes mom in that way. She's like mom in that way. One good thing about being the baby is that none of the bigger kids will let anyone hit me, not even a little bit. See, I'm like Switzerland. Everyone likes me. They all know I'm too little to defend myself. Wish I could say the same for Nora, because Aurora lets Faye wail on her. Faye takes the last bite of her cruller. My vision blurs. They really ought to let us eat something before Mass. Faye licks her lizard lips. She's just waiting for me to crack. Annie? I turn around and see Jordan Dolan standing behind me with 2 donuts on a plate. One is a Boston cream. He jerks his head to the side, and in Jordan Dolan speak, that means follow me. So I follow him. We sit down at a picnic table, and Jordan takes the second plate off the bottom of his and carefully shifts the Boston cream onto it. I'm not surprised he bought 2 plates, or that he knows my favorite donut. I'm not even surprised he remembered to bring napkins. The thing about Jordan is that everything he does is thought out way in advance. He's the exact opposite of me. I always wing it, but he says he likes that about me because I'm spontaneous, and that's where some of the best ideas for our projects come from. Like when we built the volcano, and I said we should put glitter in the goo and a tied up Barbie doll at the bottom, like she was a human sacrifice. It was awesome. He gestures to Faye with his chin. That's one of your sisters, isn't it? He asks, breaking his donut in half. He likes plain, old-fashioned ones, no glaze or anything. Yeah, I say, slinking down a little as Faye glares at us. I don't like the way she's looking at Jordan. It's like she's thinking of something mean. Jordan looks back at Faye and he doesn't look away. I've seen Jordan do this before with some of the boys from school, like Wilson Williams and Richie O'Brien. Usually when they get after Jimmy because of his ears or Sarah Bernstein because she's Jewish. Jordan makes a pile of pillows uncomfortable just by staring at them long enough. Faye gives me a snotty look and then goes away. I realize I've been holding my breath and let it go. Thanks, I say, picking up my donut. Jordan doesn't say anything, but that's okay because I don't need him to. I know he means you're welcome, even if we never say anything about this again. I enjoy my donut in peace and quiet for a while. Is it a sailboat? I ask. I know he knows what I mean, because sometimes it takes days to have a conversation with Jordan Dolan, but we always pick up right where we left off and neither of us gets confused about it. Uh-huh, he says, rolling the spongy middle of his donut between his finger and thumb. And it has an outboard motor. But I didn't build that. My dad did. I nod. I don't know what an outboard is, but I get the gist of it. Nice chucks, Jordan says. I frown, and he points down at my shoes. Of course Jordan would know a cool name for them. Jordan knows all about the cool stuff because he's rich. Thanks. My sister bought them for me, I say, pulling my bright white feet out from under the table. Not Faye, the mean one. Virginia. Gina. She bought them for me with her babysitting money yesterday. She's the bigger one. He frowns and scans the crowd. I can practically see the wheels in his head turning. I like to watch Jordan think. He looks so serious, it makes me want to crack a joke. Making Jordan laugh feels like laughing in church, except I don't get in trouble for it. The goth? He asks, spotting her. I didn't know what that is, but he's looking in Gina's direction, so I nod. Did you finish your homework yet? I ask. He nods. Of course he finished. I haven't even started mine yet. Did you find your destiny yet? He asks in return. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Now I feel bad because of Carl Sagan. He's counting on me. Not yet, I say with a shrug, but it shouldn't be too hard. I mean, I've got sisters and a brother who are really good at a lot of stuff, so I should be really good at something too. You're good at talking to people, Jordan says. I scrunch up my face. I like talking to people, but that isn't a destiny. That's like what you do at lunch, I say with a laugh. Jordan just looks at me. Usually, I know what his looks mean, but this time I can't figure it out. It's weird not to know what Jordan's thinking, seeing as how I've been able to figure him out since the first week of first grade. We're on the playground and Rob Winchell kept cutting the line for tetherball. Jordan just took hold of the ball and kept it, not letting anyone play until Rob agreed to go stand at the end. When the teachers tried to find out what was wrong, Jordan wouldn't say anything. But see, Jordan was upset, and that's why he wasn't talking. Kind of like Nora, but different. She freezes up when you put too much pressure on her, but it's not that Jordan freezes up. He just refuses to talk when he can tell no one will understand him. He clams up. So anyway, I totally saw that the teachers needed to go away, so I told them that Jordan was handling it and we'd play in a second as soon as Rob Winchell stopped being such a ding-dong. And Jordan and I have been friends ever since, because I could tell that he hates anything that's unfair, like someone cutting the line. But he also likes to handle things himself without going and blabbing to the teachers. Annie, it's time to go, Nora says. She hovers over me so I can tell I'm already late. I don't know how I managed to get late, because I feel like I just sat down with Jordan, but Nora hovering means I'm doing something wrong. Nora's a champion hoverer. Bye, I say, smiling at Jordan. Thanks for the donut. For a second, it looks like Jordan wants to say something else, but then he just nods. I follow Nora to the car, worried. I feel like I didn't give him enough time to say what he needed, and now I'll never know. Was that your boyfriend? Bridget teases as soon as she slides open the back door of the van. She and Faye are holding the door open, but they're blocking it too. Why did you give him? What did you give him for that donut? Faye asks. Half of her upper lip is pulled up so I can see her fangy teeth. Does she think I paid him? Jordan's not like that. He'd never charge me for a free donut. Faye definitely would, though. I didn't give him anything, I say, shrugging. He's my lab partner. Faye and Bridget look at each other and go, ooh, with their voices sliding all up and down. Just ignore them, Nora whispers in my ear. Faye and Bridget, stop acting like idiots and get out of the way, Evangeline snaps. She's behind the wheel and JP is in the front seat. They move so we can climb in, but not until Faye gives me the stink eye. Great. Now she's going to get back at us for making Evie yell at us. JP is looking out his window. Is that him? He asks, pointing at Jordan. He's walking across the parking lot with his hands in his pockets. Yeah, I say. We all watch him get into the shiny black BMW. Evie and JP look at each other. Their eyebrows are practically on top of their heads. He's really cute, Evangeline says, like she's shocked. I don't know what to say. Jordan is Jordan. I never thought about how he looked before. I mean, sure, I've thought about how he looks because I look at him all day, every day, seeing how we're in every single class together. He's got brown hair that gets these big curls in it when he hasn't had a haircut for a while. He's got hazel eyes that are almost gold and really long eyelashes like a girl. He used to get teased for them at the beginning of first grade, but that didn't last long. All of a sudden, the bullies stopped teasing him and started avoiding him. I never found out why, though. I asked and he clammed up. But that's Jordan for you. What do his parents do? JP asks. Huh? I ask. I forgot what we were talking about. Your lab partner. What do his parents do? His mom's a lawyer. I have no idea what his dad does. JP told me he buys and sells companies. What do you call that? I ask. JP cranes his neck to look back at me. Wealth, he says quietly. What's his house like? Bridget asks, excited. I shrugged. We always do our projects together in the ACT room at school, I tell them. All the tools and supplies are there for us to use. We don't even have to pay for them. JP stares at me for a while. His lips are pressed together, so I know he's upset about something. Be careful, he tells me. I laugh. You don't have to tell me. Jordan already burned me once with a glue gun on accident last year when we were making a housing for the circuit board for his electricity project. I twist my left arm around so JP can see the pink scar just above my elbow. See right there, it really hurt. JP smiles suddenly, reaches back and ruffles my hair. I'll bet it did, Shrimpy. I think we've got a few more years, Evangeline says to JP. She sounds relieved. I look between the two of them. A few more years of what? I ask, but no one answers. Evangeline just shakes her head when she turns the key to the ignition. We have to wait behind Jordan's dad's BMW to get out of the parking lot. Everyone is really quiet while we drive home. I know what they're thinking because I'm thinking it. They're thinking Jordan's dad's BMW probably has a radio that works and air conditioning and like seats in the back and stuff. When we get home, I feel kind of sad. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I haven't found my destiny. I bet Jordan knows his destiny already. He knows everything. I have homework, but this is more important. I go downstairs and find Mom. Ma? I ask. I have to say Ma about 6 more times for her to hear me, because she's busy both cooking dinner and unloading the dishwasher. I start to help her so she'll notice me. Ma? I try again, when she looks at me, and I stop. It's been a long time since I've been this close to her. Weeks, I think. And I forgot how nice she smells. Like powder and lemons. What, Annie? She says tiredly. Why didn't I get ballet lessons? I ask. I could have been just as good as Aurora. She looks down at the pot she's stirring. You did get ballet lessons, she says. I frown. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I took you to your first ballet class when you were 5, like I did with all you kids, and you hated it. I didn't take you back because it would have been a waste of money. Besides, the teacher said all you did was daydream and hum to yourself while you looked in the mirror. She pushes past me to stack dishes over my head. It was a long time ago, but I actually think I remember that. It was so boring until it was too hard. Seriously, I was talking so much. I thought any second I'd see the back of my own bum peeking at me from between my legs. My thighs ached for days afterward. If you're going to help, help, Mom scolds, motioning for me to move. Clear off the table. I start gathering up piles of, I have no idea what all this is. Mail, sheet music, rosary beads, a dried out set of toy watercolors, and other odds and ends, as Mom calls them, that seem to collect wherever my mother is. I start carrying piles of stuff into the sewing room slash study, but there's no place to put any of it. The desk is buried and so's the chair, and there's all kind of knitting and needlepoint baskets cluttering up the sewing table, so I just start to stack Mom's junk on the floor. What about the piano? I could have been like Evie, I say when I come back into the kitchen. She smiles and rolls her eyes. What? I ask. You're tone deaf, Annie. You couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. I didn't know I was tone deaf. Maybe that's why everyone gives me that look when I sing along to U2 or the Police, and especially that song We Belong by Pat Benatar. It took me forever to figure out what she was saying. We belong to the light. We belong to the thunder. I used to just say da dum really loud when that part came. Well, at least I know why. Then what about, she cuts me off. Soccer, like your brother? You don't know your left from your right. I took you to soccer when you were 5. The coach told you to run one way and you ran the other like your hair was on fire. She turns away from me like I'm hassling her. You're a menace at sports. You can't even go down a slip and slide without injuring yourself so badly the whole town asked if we'd been in a car accident. Okay, now that's unfair. The slip and slide thing was not my fault. 2 summers ago, Dad told us the slip and slide was ruining the lawn, so we weren't to use it anymore. But Faye didn't want to stop, so she figured if we moved it to the driveway, we wouldn't hurt the grass. Our driveway is a long, steep hill, and Faye promised it'd be like going down a slide at a water park. At the last second, she told me to go down first to test it out. And so I charged at full speed and only realized my mistake when I was out of wet plastic with no way to stop myself and was about to skid across concrete. I was in a bikini. The only thing you might be good at is distance running, my mom continues, but only because once you actually start something, which is rare, you're too stubborn to stop. I didn't know I was stubborn. Why doesn't anybody tell me these things? Well, what about? She turns to face me, and she's actually looking in my eyes, so I shut up. If it's been weeks since I've been near her, it's probably been months since she's looked me right in the eye. I think the last time I had all of her attention, okay, most of it, was when I had the stomach flu so bad they almost had to take me to the hospital. Star Wars was on TV for the first time, and she hadn't yet banned us from watching it. Mom let me put my head in her lap while she folded laundry. It was awesome. Well, except for the cramps and the fever and the barfing, but other than that, it was awesome. Was that second grade? Had to be. Jordan gave me a get well card he made out of construction paper, and he spelled well with only one L. It was probably the last time Jordan Dolan misspelled anything. My mom's still waiting for me to talk, but I'm still thinking how nice it was to put my head in her lap. When you're the youngest of 9 kids, you never see your parents, and they hardly ever really see you either, even if they're looking right at you. What? What do you want, Annie? What are you good at? I got nothing. If Faye were in the room, she'd call me a mouth breather because of how my jaw's hanging open. I shut it with a snap. I don't know, but I'm going to find out, I say. If you can pay for it yourself, I'm all for it, she says. She turns toward the stove. Now, will you get out from under work or underfoot? I have work to do. She's not trying to be mean. I know it seems like she is, but Mom is always spread thin. It's like nothing she does is what she wants to do. And everything you add to that, even if it's just talking, could be the last straw for her. It's not her fault. She didn't choose me any more than I chose her. Mary told me. She said Mom held it together before she had Bridget, and then after that she couldn't stop crying. Then she just gave up on all of us and lost it. If she could have stopped after PJ, I think everything would have been okay. Everyone says Mom and Dad should have stopped after having a boy. I know that means I wouldn't have been born, but that doesn't bother me. It's not like I'd know the difference.